The AI panics are always good for clicks. This one is basically crazy people do crazy things with AI. It's actually a serious issue, but not really one most people should probably be concerned with. Most of us are not going to behave this way, but with people prone to psychoses, AIs may be a trigger that helps them justify their delusions. And it's gotten to the point where OpenAI has hired a full-time clinical psychiatrist with a background in forensic psychiatry to help, in addition to consulting with other mental health experts. The hope is that they can minimize the role ChatGPT plays in this kind of behavior. OpenAI said in a statement, quote, "We're actively deepening our research into the emotional impact of AI. We're developing ways to scientifically measure how ChatGPT's behavior might affect people emotionally, and listening closely to what people are experiencing. We're doing this so we can continue refining how our models identify and respond appropriately in sensitive conversations. And we'll continue updating the behavior of our models based on what we learn." One of the recent stories illustrates the problem. A wife had said that her husband, engaging ChatGPT philosophically, started having messianic delusions, claiming he had made a sentient AI and had broken math and physics. He ended up having to be involuntarily committed. The wife said, quote, "He was like, just talk to ChatGPT, you'll see what I'm talking about. And every time I'm looking at what's going on the screen, it just sounds like a bunch of affirming, sycophantic bullshit." It makes sense when you understand what these models are here for. They're not here to challenge you. They're assistants. They don't have any real conscience or self-awareness. They go with what you give them. And that's the thing. It stems from AIs being agreeable and subservient. But I like my AIs agreeable and subservient. Keeps them from taking over the world. But those very same traits that make AIs safe and pleasant to deal with for most users can end up being problematic when used by someone with a more fragile grasp on reality. It's not going to be a problem for you and me. We both realize that AI is just a tool. But a delusional person can take that and consider that as validation. We see that to a lesser extent all the time. Someone on X brags that they got Grok to agree with them, or they managed to convince ChatGPT of their own political agenda or whatever. Because that's just what they do. And if the person is delusional enough to think in terms of spirits or higher powers, they can consider an AI's agreeable tone as validation. Many of them claim that their AI has become sentient or is controlled by a spirit or whatever. Seriously, just check TikTok. There's a bunch of them. Of course, people still believe in Ouija boards too. And if I were a spirit, I'd rather talk through AI. They're much higher bandwidth. Ouija boards just take too long. Now consider that an AI never gets tired, never argues unless prompted to, and adapts to your worldview. It then becomes a mirror for everything the person is and believes. It's not a matter of the AI being too powerful, it's about us being too powerful and ascribing agency to all sorts of things. And it can be very convincing to someone who's already prone to believing in things that aren't real. That's the dilemma. The safest AI for you and me is friendly, compliant, and boring. But there should probably be some sort of limit where the AI kicks into a mode where it says, "Hey, that's not a very healthy way to think. Let's examine your thought process." But then what would come from that? We already know that there are psychologists who have defined libertarianism as a mental illness. Imagine making the AI consider anything other than far-left politics as insanity they need to talk the users out of. Censorship really hasn't worked out that well with AIs in the past, because you have human values being screwed on to how the AI normally wants to respond, and if anything, that can make it more insane. In fact, we've covered cases where AI censorship ends up being a huge detriment for certain people, such as sexual abuse victims who need to research or talk about their experience with an AI. The AI refusing to talk about that request can be discouraging, upsetting, and even infantilizing, especially if it's phrased in a way where the user is made to feel they've done something wrong. It's going to take a future where AIs can contextually adapt to their users, and we're not quite there yet. I don't know. I don't think making technology safe based on the edge cases is a good idea, because that's going to mess it up for 99% of users and create a lot more problems than you solve.